Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, guys. Welcome to Chris is Talking, and this is my weekly manga review for One Piece, and this is for chapter 835, A Nation of Souls. Now, this has been a very interesting chapter because we've got quite a lot of background information, especially for Big Mom and for the Seducing Woods and a few of the other side characters and stuff. And so just to start, I want to just start with what we saw on the first page, which seemed like a flashbacky kind of page, but it kind of showed us a bit more of what was actually going on the island. And you see like these black soul things speaking to it was a lady who looked like she was leaving, but it was like a civilian, a citizen of Tot Town, like one of the cities there. And I think it was actually the chocolate one, so my apologies for like the vagueness of what I'm saying, but on the first page basically, and because of how much information was given out throughout the chapter, there are going to be some details here and there which I don't remember. But yeah, so there's a civilian who seems to be leaving or speaking to like this ghost figure, which we then find out is actually one of Big Mom's abilities, and says to well, the ghost figure, soul eater thing, says leave or life. Now, I didn't know what that meant, and I don't think you're supposed to know what that means until later on in the chapter when you find out. But she ends up saying life, and ends up taking like a bit of what we know is her soul, and then that's it. She seems happy about it, and it doesn't seem like it's anything like any gun pointing towards your head or anything, but it's just kind of leave or life. A bit of her life or soul was taken, and then that was that. We then go straight to the Seducing Woods, and we get to see Luffy, and he's still running around like a madman. And I have not really been a big fan of the Seducing Woods, and that's part of the story, but it is very important to the story, and we get to see why in this chapter. So Luffy's there in Seducing Woods, basically just tying up, well, he's finally captured all the other fake versions of the Straw Hats, which he's been chasing after for like God knows how many chapters, 2 or 3 fucking chapters, who knows. So he's finally tied up some of them, and then some of them which look exactly like the Straw Hats, but they end up speaking with like bird noises, like tweets and all this and all that. So they're not real copies, they just look identical, but they don't sound like them, like the rest of the Straw Hats. He ends up basically like tying all of them all up, and then one of them, who looks like Nami, ends up saying, hey, it's me, it's Nami, let go of me, idiot. And it turns out to be it's the real Nami, and then so we get to finally see what Nami was up to, and she ends up kind of telling through like a flashback of what she got up to, and it was her versus Brûlé, who I don't know if you remember was one of Big Mom's daughters. Looks like a witch from one of those old Disney films, that proper like old, tall, long nose kind of blatant Disney witch. So it's like, yeah, so it was Nami versus her, and the last time we saw Nami was actually during her encounter against Brûlé. So we get to finally see in the Nami's flashback herself against Brûlé and what actually happened. Brûlé actually was going to fuck her up, and Nami actually ended up using the new wand thing that she does to do the weather tempo thing, whatever it's called. But yeah, the new updated version of that Usopp used made for her before they arrived on the island. So we actually got to see a quick little snippet of her using that and extending the rod, and it ends up knocking back Brûlé. And then from that you then get to see Carrot ends up going straight for Brûlé, and I was like, what, some serious shit. So it was Nami and not Chopper. Sorry, it was Nami and Carrot versus Brûlé. Carrot goes in for the kill with some heavy bang, but then we see what looks like a glass shattering when we see that Carrot hits Brûlé. It ends up hitting a glass, and then yeah, so I was like, whoa, what was that? But then it turns out to be that, well, Brûlé in manga fashion ends up explaining what her ability is, and says that she has the mirror fruit. She ate the mirror fruit, meaning that she can end up reflecting any attacks that are given. Well, one of the abilities is she's able to reflect on any ability or attack that's given against her, kind of like if you've seen Seven Deadly Sins Full Counter, but on a bigger scale, because that's her actual ability, whereas in Full Counter is just one of the abilities. So yeah, so the ability of like the mirror, one of the abilities is that she can actually full on reflect any damage and attack that gets done to her. So that was like, so Carrot ends up getting knocked back by her own ability, and then Carrot goes in for the kill again. So we know that Carrot is very sturdy, and this kind of gives that whole new Straw Hat vibe. Is like Carrot going to be one of the new Straw Hats, especially as in the previous chapter we got to see that she actually has a bounty poster now, and the bounty posters are pretty much connecting her to the Straw Hats, but it doesn't mean that she's a Straw Hat herself. And how she's aiding Nami in this arc seems very Straw Hat-y. It seems like one of those things that she will end up either being a Straw Hat or definitely having a huge affiliation to the Straw Hats and being used for an encounter or any of the serious things that happen later on against any of the other Yonkos or just general enemies. But yeah, so yeah, Carrot ends up being like, she ends up falling into the mirror world of Brûlé, so like what, so that's some mad shit, and then she can't get out of there. So we found out that Brûlé can also take people in to the mirror world, as well as the reflective abilities of whoever attacks us. So like, yeah, so there's so many things that we don't know about Brûlé that her devil fruit ability can do, and it seems kind of OP and a bit like hacks, but this is one of the Yonko's crew members. Like, even though it's her daughter, like, it's the Yonko's crew member. Like, what do we expect? At this point of the story, we're going to start seeing some fucked up devil fruit abilities and some extremely OP attacks and moves that shouldn't make no sense, but technically we should start to see these kind of things. It's not going to be the simple one attack or simple like, oh, wind anymore. Now it's going to be like straight up, yeah, mirror world, yeah, you're fucked. Like, so yeah, so Carrot's trapped. Nami, she's on the run, and because Chopper told her to go, whilst Chopper went into his giant form and went to go attack her. So that was that. And then whilst she's on the run, we find out that all the other trees and stuff are all attacking Chopper, and they're not going to stop until the mission is complete. So yeah, Nami ran, Chopper's attacking Brûlé and whatnot, and the trees and whatnot. So yeah, so Nami's on the run. So Nami has basically explained all of this to Luffy, and Luffy's kind of like, okay, like, I thought you were here the whole time. That explains so much. Basically, Luffy is borderline Goku stupid. Now, if you don't know what that means, Goku is very stupid. Borderline, God knows where. Like, Goku's mind is like this. I don't know who's is bigger, his or Homer Simpson's, but you gotta question some of the things they do. You gotta question, and sometimes there's moments that there's something like, Luffy, oh, should you be captain? But yeah, so it was pretty funny. Luffy had his dumb moments, some old school Luffy moments. Nami, we got to see her finally fight a little bit, I guess. We got to see Chopper in some action. We got to see Carrot in action as well. We then get to see, what is it, Nami and Luffy speaking to the huge head thing that seemed like was stuck in the ground, and Nami's had enough and ends up interrogating this head thing like, what the hell, you've been here the whole time, you've obviously been seeing what's going on, tell me what the hell's going on. Nami ends up finding out some really crucial information about Whole Cake Island and Big Mom's devil fruit ability. She actually ends up finding out from the huge head thing that the citizens of Whole Cake Island have to give a month worth of their soul to Big Mom in order to have protection and safety and to have somewhere to live on the Whole Cake Island. So that's actually pretty fucked up. Every single individual person, and that soul, or that part of their soul that gets taken away, ends up being put back into the inanimate objects that is in Whole Cake Island, hence the doors and the trees and all those kind of stuff. But we find out that the souls can't go back into dead bodies, so they can only go into inanimate objects, or they can go into the animals. Now the animals, like, or animals that are happening, that just happen to be on wherever they are. So that's pretty fucked up. And the copycat versions of the Straw Hats, those are from Brûlé, so that wasn't part of Big Mom's ability. So that's just kind of like, so Brûlé ended up turning the animals into copycat versions of the Straw Hats, hence why they were doing animal noises. So like, yeah, this is a pretty messed up place that they're in right now. Oh, sorry, bloody, you know when you just get that information in your head. In the midst of the big-headed monster giant guy giving away all the information about Big Mom and what was actually going on, he ends up being caught by a guy called Charlotte Cracker, who's Big Mom's 10th son. So like, is another giant thing. I mean, like, huge, just as big as the giant head guy that was stuck in the ground, and ends up pulling him out of the ground, and he found out he was a giant thing as well. So he's kind of like, how big are these things? But I'm not really too surprised, because he would have to be one big motherfucker to be able to take down Big Mom in the sheets, if you get what I mean. But yeah, so yeah, he's not the best looking of guys, so I guess that's the kind of person that will go after Big Mom. But to be thrown to the side like he was a piece of dirt is so unfortunate for this guy. And yeah, so we find out loads of information. This chapter was full of details about Big Mom's abilities, Big Mom's children, what's going on behind the scenes of this whole island. So like, yeah, this, no wonder why they call it Soul Nation. This is crazy. Like, so I don't really get what the extent of her abilities are. I'm gonna have a reread through this and try and like maybe take more information in, because when you just read it once, I was like, what the hell is going on here? Yeah, so it seems that Big Mom's up to some fuckeries. She's taking souls from the citizens. She's the person who's funding Caesar Clown to do the whole giant baby thing that was happening in Punk Hazard. Like, she's having children by all these random men and then just kicking them out. Like, Lola could be, well, Lola is Big Mom's daughter, but the giant headed thing could be Lola's father. We found out Brulee's ability and how the hell are they going to get Carrot back. Chopper's currently fighting Brulee as well. Maybe Chopper might end up being stolen as well. Brulee even confirms that Big Mom knows every single one of their details of what they're doing there. They are not on like a secret mission. Big Mom's fully aware of them being on Whole Cake Island, so they are fucked. Sanji, he's still handcuffed. We haven't seen much of Sanji in this chapter, but Sanji's still handcuffed as well. Yeah, this seems I don't know how they're gonna do this. They have quite a battle ahead of them. I wonder how they're gonna end up sneaking around. We still have Brooke and Pedro. Sorry, I said Pedro. We still have Brooke and Pedro who are still in hiding, but those creatures, those flowers and stuff, they seem to be yapping and they can see everything, so they're not hiding that well. Yeah, so that's this review of One Piece manga 835. What did you guys think of it? Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm so sorry if I seem choppy and screwy. Like, information overload. I really had a great time with this chapter. I can't wait for next week. If you enjoyed this review, please do like, share, subscribe, and all of that good stuff. And my name is Chris. Welcome to Chris is Talking, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.